Welcome to the latest episode of the B Movie Club. I'm your host, Kevin. This week we'll be doing the 1983 horror classic, The Dead Zone, starring Christopher Walken, Martin Sheen, Tom Skerritt. The list goes on and on. For those of you joining us for the first time, what we like to do each week on the B Movie Club is you might suggest a movie to me. I might pick one out of the sky. I'll post it on our websites, and you can watch it at your convenience. And send me your favorite scenes, favorite quotes, comments, questions, and we'll talk about it on the show. You can reach me on our Facebook page, Original B Movie Club. Don't forget to click the thumbs up. Also, you can reach me on YouTube. Subscribe, won't you? It's entirely free. You can also reach me more immediately on Twitter at KD9575. Send in anything you want to talk about concerning movies. I'm here. I'm ready to, a little back and forth, you know what I'm saying? The Dead Zone. In the story, Johnny Smith is a school teacher, teaches English. He's having a romance with another teacher at the school when everything comes to a screeching halt when he's in a car accident. He is plunged into a coma for 5 years, which has the major effect of drastically changing his hairstyle. Okay, this is very important. It also seems to give him the ability that when he touches you, he can tell you about your past, your present, and your future. It's called psychometry in the biz, okay? People who can touch things and tell you about it. Jeff Goldblum had a similar power in that movie Vibes, if that gives you any idea. So he'll first demonstrates, the nurse comes in, because again, he's been in a coma. She comes to deal with him, and he touches her and does one of these moves. And he immediately has visions of the daughter trapped in a burning building. He warns the girl is saved, everything's cool. So what we eventually learn is that not only can he see the future, but he can prevent it, okay? The future's not set like they say in the Terminator movies, okay? There is no future, but one makes for themselves, okay? So he achieves some notoriety through this. Well, after he wakes up, he realizes that the love of his life, the girl he was going to propose to, is now married to another man with a child, so it's very sad. It's a sad time in his life. His mom has a heart attack, and she dies soon after he comes to, so it's just not a good time. He begins to look at this power as kind of a curse because he's being hounded. He eventually has to move away. The local police officer, played by Tom Skerritt, comes up to him and says, "Hey, there's been this serial killer for the last several years. We're at a dead end. Help us out. I'm not sure whether to believe you or not, but hey, let's give it a shot." So after some coaxing, Johnny Smith goes in there and touches the body of the latest victim and immediately discerns who the killer is. I don't want to spoil it for you. It's kind of a trick. So he helps that, and then his girlfriend, who keeps visiting him for some reason, his ex-girlfriend, I should say, she is actually somebody who is like a pollster, somebody out there holding signs, passing out flyers for this senatorial candidate. Greg Stilson, played by Martin Sheen, who's a serious politician. He's got people lining up for him. He's probably going to win the race. And by bizarre coincidence, he manages to shake hands with Martin Sheen and does another one of these moves and realizes that this guy is going to become president and that sometime in the future he's going to shoot off nuclear missiles when he probably doesn't need to. Okay? So now he's suffering from this moral quandary. What do I do? I mean, if you go back in time and kill Hitler, would you do it? That kind of thing. And decides, you know what? I have got a tumor, I'm sure. I'm about to die anyway. I might as well get down to business and let's do this. I'm gonna kill this senatorial candidate. No one will appreciate what I'm doing, and I probably won't make it out of there alive. But I'm gonna do it anyway. So I don't want to spoil everything. I mean, I basically told you the whole movie. But if you want to know more, it is streaming instantly on Netflix. What can I tell you about this movie? Before I do that, I'm going to welcome back our old friend Erin, our movie expert. She's going to tell you her thoughts, feelings, reflections, and personal undying attraction to Christopher Walken. Let's hear it from Erin.
First of all, let me give you a little backstory. You know, this is a Stephen King novel and probably the best adaptation of any Stephen King novel. This was classic Stephen King. He's probably still on the cocaine, still drinking, still struggling. You know, the movie came out in 1983, my senior year of high school. That was really the year I stopped reading Stephen King. But this was an older book. 83, he was successful, he was clean and sober, his books were a lot less interesting. But this was such a good book. I remember I got the book from my dad. That's where I found this book. If you know my father, he is not up for a Stephen King novel, but he read this book. And like I said, it is a perfect adaptation. I don't think you're going to find anyone who disagrees. People like The Shining, but the movie The Shining versus the movie The Book, there's no comparison. The book was so superior. All right. Stephen King originally wanted Bill Murray to play the role of Johnny Smith, the one made famous by Christopher Walken. And, you know, nowadays, if you look back, if you could imagine maybe Lost in Translation Bill Murray, I guess I could kind of see it. But in 83, we're talking Meatballs Bill Murray. That was not going to work. I mean, this is a serious role. The title character of this story carries the entire movie. The star of it is the whole movie. There's not all these just extra interesting characters. Christopher Walken's character is the whole story. Just before I go on about Christopher Walken some more, some just little funny things. Cronenberg, to get Christopher Walken to jump during his little seizure spells, was off camera firing a .357 Magnum. Yeah, I'd jump too. I'd jump if you shot a .22 near me, but a .357. So if you think about that and then go back and watch his reactions, because they're so violent, it's like, whew. 1983, Christopher Walken also came out with the movie Brainstorm, where he appeared with Natalie Wood. Is this the beginning of the supposed affair that eventually led to her death? I don't know. Estate of Natalie Wood, don't sue me. I don't know. Very interesting. So other little characters, the Dr. Sam, he was the Pink Panther, the crazy head inspector. I kept staring at him going, why is he so familiar? It was like, oh my God, that was crazy. Tom Skerritt, who was an alien. Originally, they wanted Hal Holbrook, but the executive producer, Dino De Laurentiis, didn't even know who Hal Holbrook was. Dino, baby, come on, really? Even in 83, I knew who Hal Holbrook was. All right, now let me just talk about Christopher Walken. This is the one time in his life where he became a sex symbol, where people didn't say, dear God, he is so strange. And I see my brother's face, and I can hear my friends, and I can hear my sister's voices in my head, and Tara, shut the hell up. But it is a fact that Christopher Walken is a sex symbol in this movie. And it is not just me. In 1983, Cosmopolitan magazine came out. He was on the cover with the title, The Thinking Woman Sex Symbol. Now, I give you, not at the beginning of the movie where he's got this weird kind of bowl haircut, but he got better looking after the coma. And his role is unbelievable. He is not creepy. You feel for the guy. You know, you just want to give him a little hug, but then he's going to read something. He's going to have a seizure and tell you your house is on fire. But you really feel for his character, and he just plays it so superbly. Roger Ebert compares his role in The Dead Zone to his role in The Deer Hunter and felt that they were on a par. So that tells you, I mean, this is probably the best thing he's done to date. I'm going to put that out there. Best thing. I mean, all his characters really after this were just, you know, Christopher Walken being Christopher Walken. But this was some solid acting. And like I said, watch the movie and tell me you don't feel for the guy. Roger Ebert was also comparing this movie with The Exorcist and Rosemary's Baby. He was saying that basically these are supernatural thrillers that once you start watching them, you forget that this is some kind of supernatural movie. You're just so engrossed in the film. And I agree. Kevin, I don't know why this is on the B movie list, because this is an A movie. A.
And we're back. Thank you very much, Aaron. As you know, if you are able to come onto the show via Skype, please let me know if there's any particular movies you'd like to talk about. I'd love to have you on, and we'll talk about it, okay? Send me any movie suggestions, and if it's available, I'm in. If I've seen it, even if I haven't seen it, I'm in, okay? Mark it down. So, The Dead Zone, as we know, is based upon the novel by Stephen King, and like Aaron said, it is very, very... it really sticks to the plot of the book, whereas some books, they kind of go off on their own way. This is pretty close as they could probably make it in a 2-hour movie. So there you go. Based loosely upon Stephen King's personal life, because he at that time had also been like an English teacher, so Johnny Smith was kind of an allegory for himself. The idea of the guy basically getting hit on the head and developing these powers was based upon a real psychometrist, ESP guy named Peter Hurkos, who's around in the 50s. A lot of people think he was a fraud, but it was that same kind of thing. That guy claimed to have powers after falling off a ladder or hitting his head, something along those lines. David Cronenberg, who we talked about, directed this movie. He did such hits as The Fly with Jeff Goldblum, The Brood, Rabid, many of these kind of gruesome Canadian movies. Movie was filmed in Canada. David Cronenberg actually, when he was looking at the script, said John Smith. I wouldn't have a character named Johnny Smith. He actually wanted to change it because he thought it sounded too bizarre or too kind of fake. Stephen King actually commented in his book that the name always sounded fake to people. So there you go. We're on the same thing. Michael Kamen, who did the score for this movie, was in London, composing it, playing it late at night, and eventually his neighbors came pounding on his door and said, "Could you please stop playing that scary music all the time? You're keeping me up and giving my family nightmares." So there you go. So you have that to look forward to. In this movie, Martin Sheen, Greg Stilson, predicts that he will one day be president because he saw it in a vision. Guess what? It was all true. Martin Sheen, as we all know, went on to play President Bartlett on The West Wing. So maybe he was psychic as well. I don't know. What else can I tell you about this movie? This is the first of the movies, or the books turned to movies from Stephen King that took place in the fake city of Castle Rock. Other movies included Cujo and Needful Things. They all took place in this city that Stephen King created for his books. Another thing that's kind of interesting, the gazebo that Christopher Walken sees in his vision, that one of the murders took place, was actually built just for this film. And the residents of the city liked it so much they actually kept it there. So it's still there if you want to go walk around in the fake murder scene. Whenever I see this movie, I always remember Christopher Walken, as many people know, was often a host on Saturday Night Live. And one of his earlier characters was the Trivial Psychic, where he'd walk around and shake people's hands and immediately do one of these moves. It would be like, your car. You're going to be driving down the expressway. There's going to be traffic. One of those kind of deals. And that was my horrible Christopher Walken impression. There's going to be a lot more where that came from. Okay, that was even worse. So, if you have not seen it, I highly recommend The Dead Zone. It's really only one scene that's kind of rough. As I've said, it's much more about the mood. It's kind of its general creepiness. It's more of a thriller than a horror movie. Not saying that you should watch it with your children or anything like that. You should invite the nuns and the blind orphans over to watch, although the blind orphans may appreciate it. It is enjoyable. It is fun if you're into the kind of creepiness of it. Why is it called The Dead Zone? I looked, and I looked. It's very kind of generally spoken, like the Dead Zone is where, that place where Christopher Walken in his visions realizes that he can change the future, I guess. I don't know. I mean, maybe it was his coma. I don't know. I need to read the glossary or the index of the book, evidently. It's all shocking. If anybody knows what the Dead Zone is, please let me know. Anyway, so check that out. Like I said, it is still streaming instantly on Netflix. It currently has an 89% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, so you know it's good. So there you have it. Moving away from the Dead Zone, I'm going to go back to the land of comedy, to the 1977 comedy classic Slapshot, starring of all people Paul Newman. It is currently streaming instantly on Netflix. So run out and check it out. Send me your questions, comments, favorite quotes, and favorite scenes. Again, you can reach me on Facebook, Original B Movie Club. You can subscribe on our YouTube page, Kevin D, or tweet me on Twitter at KD9575. As you know, I end every episode with a totally out of context quote, and here it is. The ice is gonna break. That was horrible. Good Lord, I really gotta work on that impression. The ice is gonna break. That was a little bit better. Thank you for joining us. Next week, Slapshot with Paul Newman. Be well.